All right. Topic. Why can't we kill people, god damn it? I don't know. Thanks for watching.
The laws.
Too deep for us.
It's the laws, man.
Well, I think there's a deeper question, which is the title you probably clicked on, and what is morals and ethics? Why is it morally wrong to kill someone? Not saying anyone would kill someone, but why is it okay? Why are morals the way they are, okay?
Are they the way they are, though?
Are morals even
What?
real? Am I even real? Cartesian
I know
skepticism?
so many podcasts.
Morals are subjective, right? Like,
you might think
So,
it's not okay to stab a million people, but I may think it is okay.
right, so what makes your morals more valuable than mine?
I think that the difference between morals and ethics are determined by society, and they fluctuate based on the society that you're in and the needs of society and what society deems is good and bad and okay and not okay and do and don't and right and wrong. Whereas morals are the same set of values, but they're just based on your own personal beliefs.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
here's a question. Why should I personally let other people's individual ideas of morals or society's overall idea of ethics hinder me from what I personally believe to be right and what I personally want to do? A lot of people, for example, an issue that's very near and dear to my heart, cloning. People don't, they're like, oh man, you can't clone animals, that's like playing God. But I want to. So I'm gonna. Why can't you tell me what to do? Just because you think it's wrong doesn't mean I think it's wrong. So, why can't I kill people? Just because you think it's wrong doesn't mean I think it's wrong. I do think it's wrong, but it's, not
Right.
because you think it's wrong, it's because I personally
Right,
think
just to
it's
clarify, we're not saying any of this we would do, right?
Yeah, we're
These
not.
are just
Yeah, all these are hypotheticals.
we're not gonna go out kill people
Maybe.
because we don't think. Shane, okay, we'll just cut that.
No, we're not. Okay,
We'll
if
censor
I'm
it.
ever in court, that previous statement was sarcasm.
We'll just private this video.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you guys think it's an evolutionary advantage to have morals?
Yes.
I would say so.
Or
The
is it an
moral
evolutionary,
to not kill.
Is it a de-evolutionary hindrance to have morals?
Ooh.
I think it's an evolutionary advantage. Screw whether or not you have morals. I think it's an evolutionary advantage to have morals that align with the ethics of your community. And
So to create a
world
deeper
and
bond.
civilization.
I think.
And what?
Oh. Well,
I think the moral you shouldn't kill other humans is a good one because basically I mean, if you're killing your own people, you're not an evolutionary advantage, right? That's not a good thing for your evolutionary species.
yeah,
Right.
and I
So
think also from a more selfish standpoint, morals help because they kind of set a standard code of conduct so that all humans benefit. If you believe it is morally bad to kill a person, then you're not gonna kill your neighbor or something, right? So because it's just a moral that's common within the species, well, your neighbor's not gonna kill you either, because you're both ingrained to believe that killing another person is morally wrong. So that's why I believe it's an evolutionary advantage, because if that wasn't morally wrong, well, odds are at one point or another one of you would be dead because of the other one. But
Mm-hmm.
I think animals also have morals.
depends on the animal.
Interesting.
I don't think clams
depends
have
on-
morals.
What
I think
do we?
I think clams are.
I don't think
pretty-
they have as complex
What should
morals.
we
You,
define as
do you
morals,
think
though?
clams have morals?
Yeah.
What?
Instinctual morals.
What? No, that's not a
Are they-
thing.
If you could have, if it's instinctual, is it a
That's
moral?
just an instinct. That's not a moral.
Okay, hold on. This raises a bigger question. Nurture or
What?
nature?
No, it's just
morals.
clams. I
No,
don't think
because-
clams have morals. They're clams. They don't even have
Do
sentience.
corals have? what
Okay,
do we define
computer-
Yeah.
corals have
Computers
morals?
have arguably more sentience than clams.
Okay, so you have to have sentience to have
Yes.
morals.
Well, I think morality,
Or at least
okay, so
semi-sentience.
to define morality, I guess we could say if you're given free will, what you
Which
choose
is
to do
a
with
which is a
that
whole
free
nother
will.
rabbit hole.
So
And then there's also the question of where do your morals, how do your morals change based on who's watching?
Yeah.
Like your morals by yourself in your house when there's no one there, versus are your morals going to be different if you're in a public space and your actions are being broadcast? Do celebrities have to have morals that are more closely aligned with the ethics of civilization than, say, just random normal schmucks that aren't in the public eye?
I think definitely, but sometimes we get morals in the community that are later viewed as terrible.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we do. Like, for instance, racism
Ooh.
Slavery.
is extremely immoral now. But
Yeah.
back in the day, nobody ever thought of it. Like, if you were a kid growing up, you were just a racist and it wasn't a big
Yeah,
deal.
same-
have you
same
guys
thing
ever
with-
read? Have you ever read Huckleberry Finn?
Nope.
Adventures of
I've
Huckleberry.
read-
I took
yeah, I
a
think-
different English class.
So
I watched the movie.
so
I read part of the
in
book.
the book, it basically the kid, he's a very good kid, and he goes about trying to do things the right way because his dad's an alcoholic who is also abusive, so he wants to be the complete opposite of his father. But in the one part, he is with his friend who is an escaped slave, and they're traveling down the Mississippi, or it might be the Missouri, I'm not sure. So they're traveling down the river, and he is thinking back and forth about whether or not he should turn in his friend to go back into slavery. And he, in his heart, he doesn't want to do it, but he thinks it's morally right to turn him in, because he thinks that, the society has told him that he's property, and it's morally wrong to help an escaped slave. And ultimately, he decides to not turn him in and help him escape. And he figures, I think it actually says, well, I'm just going to hell then. And he takes the bargain that he's going to do what he wants to do, which is help his friend, and have to live with the consequences.
Moral relativism.
Wow. Big words.
So
That
what-
was a good
what-
relation, Timmy. I want to clap. I want to clap you
Yeah,
on
that
the
was
back
very
right there.
good.
That was a good connection. That was a good. Yeah.
So Timmy, I think just opened the door into something interesting. If Timmy said, who was it? Huck Finn said, "I'm just going to hell."
Yeah.
So he said, "I'm just going to hell." Is your damnation to hell or prosperity in heaven based on what? Your morals? Or if you swallow your morals, is it your ethics? I mean, if you swallow your morals, is it your actions? And then
This,
are people today going to hell because they have different morals than people did, a long time ago? Or did people just start going to heaven now and nobody before was going into hell? Or does
wait, Sam.
heaven and
Sam,
hell-
do you remember that
Yeah?
question I asked last week or something?
About
Masochists?
what?
What do you think that would
Yeah,
relate?
you asked me
Yeah,
too.
okay, so I had
Me
this
and Timmy,
question,
too.
right, audience of Klaus, right? What does God do with sinning masochists? Like, he can't send them to hell because they'd enjoy hell. Like, masochism means you enjoy the sensation of pain. so they'd like hell. But just because they like pain doesn't mean they also wouldn't like other stuff, like eternal bliss. So they'd probably enjoy heaven. And then he couldn't send them to purgatory, because then they wouldn't be punished for their sins. So what does he do with them?
He deletes them.
That's a
Absolve. I really don't know.
You should ask a priest this.
Mm.
I want to see what
he'll just be like
the
the
official god guy says.
an official god guy.
Next week on
If
the
anyone
Universe
could get a
Effect.
priest to come on the Universe Effect, I mean,
My
Sure we
my,
could.
my uncle's
Props to
trying
you.
to be a minister.
invite him on.
I haven't spoken to him in like 7 years. It's not because like we hate each other. Nah, it's just like he lives far away. So
Mhm.
like
Right? Yeah.
nah.
You don't
Yeah.
see him.
Here's another question. So, right about now, I saw something. I forget. It was an article about about the Nazis. So, a lot of the Nazi soldiers didn't actually. Well, I don't know if they did or not, but the article said that a lot of Nazi soldiers didn't actually know what they were doing, and so. The question was, if they didn't know what they were doing, but they were still doing the wrong thing, but they were doing it because they thought that their country needed them to fight in the World War II against the Americans who were trying to take away their freedoms. So, were they right because they fought for their country and what they believed in, or were they wrong because they fought for a terrible dictator, even if they didn't know of the terrible things he's done?
Moral relativism.
See, like, it's hard to be like, nah, man, I'ma defend the Nazis. But like,
yeah, it's
I can see where you're coming from.
sometimes you have to
What?
though. Like,
I mean,
in
those,
this
those
case-
Nazis, they really know how to do that nationalism thing well.
no, all I'm saying is we're sitting here like, oh yeah, Nazis are bad, you know, blah 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 blah. But most people would succumb to the pressure,
Absolutely.
just like they did in Nazi Germany. It's not like those people were all of a sudden a different breed of people.
Right.
They're the same people.
Not to polarize or politicalize the Universe Effect, but Donald Trump, like, talk about the bandwagon effect now and here, and the fact that so many people are hopping on the hatred bandwagon,
Mhm.
but it's okay because everybody's doing it.
Right.
Um,
Because he's
And
Trump.
I think
And he's like
Right.
American capitalism. It's okay. You know, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people actually do think the way he does. And they
Yeah.
actually have those
See,
thoughts.
it wouldn't really be that big a deal if he wasn't so violent with his rhetoric of like basically racism. And like if you say it's racism, you're gonna get people like, nah man, it ain't racism. But like, come on. Like he wants to like keep track of all Muslims in the US, like make them wear something on their clothing. Like that's literally what the
Right.
Nazis did. Like, you kidding me?
Mhm.
You can't just be like, oh man, I'm just gonna do what the Nazis did, but it's not racist. It's like, no, what? It's like, oh, I'm just gonna
It's
it's like with the internment camps of the Japanese. It's like,
mhm,
oh,
yeah.
we're just gonna lock all these Japanese up in camps. That's what the Nazis did, but it's not bad because it's us. Like, no, it was terrible. What?
Here's
So
another
to-
thing. Oh, go ahead.
So to offer the devil's advocate perspective, there are, estimates, of course, because it's a hot button topic, etc., will vary, but let's just say of all of the Muslim immigrants that might be coming into the United States, only 100 of them are potential militants that want to do harm to the United States.
and in
Do
the
you-
same sense, yeah, I see. Even
Yeah, I
if
get
even
it.
if it is
Let's
such
say
a
let's say
small
it's 1 in
number.
100. Right.
Mhm.
So if it's 1 in 100, right? Do you say no Muslims can come into the country, or yes, Muslims can come into the country, but we need an identification system, and then you deprive an entire group of people certain basic rights, or but do this and still in an effort to protect the American people, or do you give those people constitutional rights, assuming that we're going to assume that they come and they immigrate and they're here legally and they're citizens and they have constitutional rights, but potentially put the American people at risk. Again,
And
devil's advocate.
even if it's such a small number, like, what? How many people did it take to take down the Twin Towers?
But
Yep,
but
19
no,
people.
If
no,
they're
no,
gonna
no.
come and do terrorist attacks, they're not gonna. A lot of them, I would say, aren't gonna bother with all this shit. They're just gonna get on a plane, fly over to America, and do
Well,
what they're
but
gonna
like,
do.
I think
no.
The
I think
Tsarnaev
just separate
brothers that did-
separate from the practicality of doing it. I'm talking like how do you weigh what is right?
What is right is
How-
that you let the people in, because the United States' vetting system is by far the most rigorous and intense in the country. If our government can't catch the terrorists, well, we weren't gonna stop them anyway.
Well,
you know? Like, it doesn't matter if we let the people in or we don't let the people in. If our government personally cannot find the terrorists and stop them, then, like, we weren't gonna stop them.
You know, the Tsarnaev brothers that committed they detonated the bomb at the Boston bombings.
Mhm.
They had been in the country for a while, for a couple of years, and I think they were there legally. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they were there legally.
Now, I haven't done any research, but are a lot of terrorists like converted
Yes.
Americans?
San
They are.
Bernardino.
A lot of U.S. terrorists, because it's a lot more difficult because of our incredibly intense and rigorous vetting system for letting people into the country. It's a lot more difficult to get into the country from outside as a terrorist than it is to convert people who are already within the country into terrorists.
Right. So they found a way around it. So it doesn't matter. So basically, we're gonna discriminate against all these people when they're really not the problem.
They're not the problem. It's because the
But
actions
is
of a
it
few
worth-
shouldn't determine the salvation of the many, you know?
But is it worth sacrificing the salvation of the many for the needs of the few?
Is it worth the freedom, Sam?
I think freedom is worth anything, really. But that's just me.
To interject, to throw it out there, I checked, and one of the Tsarnaevs, I just checked, he was a naturalized citizen on September 11th, 2012. So he was a legal U.S. citizen a few years before the bombing even happened.
Talk
Like,
about
it's
irony for that date of naturalization.
it's terrible to kind of act in the ways that you're acting as though the lives of the people lost do not matter. They do, 100%. And it's ridiculous and it's terrible, but you can't let the actions of a few insane terrorists dictate how you treat an entire group of people in a country. You
I
have
agree with
to,
you.
you really have to take it into perspective. Like, is it worth the possibility of, like, a bad guy getting in if you let in 10,000 good guys? Yes, I think it's worth it.
I think the whole war on terror is a losing battle.
We're just making more terrorists.
We're playing
It's
chess
like when we
against
went
someone
into
that
Vietnam.
is throwing snowballs at us.
I've
We're
said this
playing
before.
chess when
I
they've
think
already flipped the chessboard and walked outside.
I think the war on terror is exactly like when we went into Vietnam, the Vietnam War.
Yes.
You can't fight the Viet Cong, okay? You just can't. With all the technology and the military and everyone who we were sending over there, it doesn't matter. You can't beat them because they're working at an advantage that you will never have. They're undetectable, and we can't stop it.
All they have to do is just think of a new way to kill people. Not that hard. I mean, no one had ever thought about using a plane as a weapon until they did, and then we started to protect against it, and then no one thought about using anything else, and then every time they think of something, then we start to defend against it, and by then they won't ever use that as a method to attack again, and it just keeps going and going.
To quote Captain America 2, which I know is stupid because it's a real world issue and that's a stupid movie.
That
but,
is a great movie.
Well, coming from you, well, it is a great movie, but coming from you, the compliment is lessened just because you're such a Marvel geek. No, so
Doesn't matter that I have a real Captain America shield.
When Nick Fury and Captain America are talking and looking at the helicarriers, and Nick Fury is like, "We can stop threats before they happen," and then Captain America's like, "I thought the punishment normally came after the crime." Like, if we go out of our way to try to predict how people are going to attack us, to an extent, that is a smart decision. Like, you want to prevent potential threats.
Preemption.
Yeah, but you can't. If you don't keep it checked, it's gonna reach the point where you're giving up freedoms for something that could maybe, in like a certain way, if you thought about it a lot, kind of be used to maybe hurt you.
Well, we're finding solutions to problems that never existed and never will exist. And we're just trying to plug all the holes before any water can shoot up. But there's way too many holes. You only have 2 hands. What are you going to do?
Sometimes the holes aren't even there, so we're trying to plug up holes that don't exist, and in doing so, we make new holes.
Man, this analogy is really falling apart.
We have a screen door that bugs can get through, and we're plugging them one screen at a time, trying to stop all the bugs. Shut up! It was a good metaphor.
We're plugging them one screen at a time. Like what?
One
It's
little square.
Screen. One little tiny
One
little square in the mesh of the screen.
Yes.
Okay.
And
then
so that the bug can't get through.
Then the analogy
again.
isn't totally stupid.
We have how about this one? Okay, we have a bunch of needles that are the size of the holes in the screen door. We have 1,000 needles, but there are 1,000,000 holes, and we're plugging holes randomly, but we don't have enough needles to plug all of the holes.
And sometimes we miss and make a bigger hole.
Right.
Right.
And then bigger bugs can get through.
So this is a whole new podcast topic: freedom or security.
We should do a whole podcast topic
Is
where we just
Edward
do
Snowden
metaphors.
a hero or a villain?
I think Edward Snowden's a hero.
What?
I think he's a hero.
I don't think it's as easy as that. I don't think you can just call someone a hero. I think there's more to the story. There's always more to the story.
Obviously there is.
His morals weren't aligned with the ethics of society, but were his morals necessary for the continuation of a society with good ethics?
To some people he was a hero, to others he wasn't.
I think
so you can't call him either.
I think at least he's not like an out and out villain. Like, I think if someone out and out calls him a villain, you can safely say you're an idiot. But like it's more nuanced than like, is he a villain or a hero? He's different. But you can't just out and out be like, who's a bad guy? Like, he did what he personally believed to be right and just. So like, you can't out and out say that he's like doing it with evil intention, because he did it because he believed that it was the right thing to do.
Here's another question. Is security worth giving up freedoms for?
No.
In some cases,
no.
yes. I think there's a line.
I think the line isn't
There's an
there.
easy medium.
This is America, freedom, eagles. Rawr!